real estate. Glad you made it. This is where we show people how to invest in real estate with an emphasis on retiring early. And if this is your first time here, really glad that you found us. If you like what you hear, make sure you hit the subscribe button before you go. If you're liking what you're hearing, hit the like button as well. And if this is not your first time here, welcome back. And thank you for sharing this with your friends and family. You're the absolute best for doing that. Really appreciate that about you. And if you didn't know, for years, we've provided hands down the most effective strategies for finding motivated sellers. I mean, we even teach our students how to use creative financing strategies to lock in deals without borrowing from banks or begging friends and family for a loan. But right now, during the holiday season, we are taking it one step further and providing 100% financing for all of your fix and flips. And, you know, my advice has always been to, and it still is, to find the deal first and the money will find you. And if you've never done that before, you've never done a deal before, I mean, I really understand it takes an inordinate amount of faith to really trust that process. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to help you out with the faith part and assure you that the money is already there waiting for you. So I've made some special arrangements just for you. You still have to find the deal, right? You still have to do that. And that's why I've put together an irresistible, no-brainer of an offer for Christmas to help you find deeply discounted off-market properties. And looks like this. Hey, that worked. Perfect. So from now until December 22nd, I'm going to give a max of 50 students the entire Epic Invested Training Vault. That's a $1,591 value for only $297. That's a gift of $1,294 from me to you. And your access to these investor funds will be absolutely free. And this offer has never been made before. So if you'd like to get all the details, go to epicchristmasgift.com. epicchristmasgift.com. Alrighty, so there we go. So on today's show, we are discussing virtual real estate because virtual real estate transactions, they've ballooned over recent months as investors try to get ahead of the curve in this new frontier of real estate. New York-based company Republic Realm spent a record-breaking $4.3 million on digital land in a virtual world called the Sandbox. You might have heard of it. It's becoming very popular. And then last month, a 116 parcel estate in the heart of the Fashion Street District within Decentraland, another metaverse, sold for what would be roughly $2.5 million in the real world. So you can see this is real money. I mean, Coke and Pepsi are investing. Snoop Dogg is investing. I mean, major brands and celebrities are jumping in like crazy. And I just found this this article here in let's see, the Wall Street Journal. As you can see there, investors snap up metaverse real estate in a virtual land boom. Transactions for properties in digital realms are jumping, guided by the same principle in the physical world: location, location, location. And so today, I've got a great guest for you today. That's where our guest comes in to help us figure all this out, right? How do investors know what is the right investment to make in the metaverse, or if it's even the right move for them? So please help me welcome, without further ado, Mr. Casey Brown, CEO of 3000 Capital. There we go. The show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Good. It's these live events are a little bit new for me, and I'm playing producer and speaker at the same time. So
yep, I understand. Yep.
And bubblegum and balancing 3 tennis balls and walking at the same time.
That's
anyway, before we begin, Casey, share a little bit about your background and what inspired you to look at and take on virtual real estate investments.
Well, about 15 years ago, of course, I started out from college and didn't really know what I wanted to do, and decided that I was going to jump into the real estate space in just general terms. Got my license to sell real estate and just kind of began feeling out and learning the whole real estate, like talking the language and learning how to just make deals and find deals and customers and so on and so forth. So as we kind of fast forward up through that part of my career of having kids and growing a family, as well as growing a real estate sales business, several years ago, well, say about 5 years ago, I started investing in some multifamily and some commercial properties, and started getting some management experience under my belt, so that I could really feel like I could have a a grasp on what all of these different terms meant and how to grow a portfolio of properties. And with that, it's kind of led me through, and I've kind of carved a path for myself where we've, where I've learned again what all of the terms meant and how to use money and borrow money and so on and so forth. So that's kind of just a quick synopsis of who I am. I feel like I breathe, eat, sleep everything real estate all the time. It's nonstop. I'm always looking for another deal, or I'm always looking for the next time to raise capital, or how we're going to put the two together. So it's just something that I took wholeheartedly years ago, and this where I'm at today. Um,
Super. So share with me a little bit what you know, because this is something of great interest to me, and I've just started to dive into this field of, or this area, this new market of virtual real estate. Why are real estate investors taking on this virtual world? Where are the opportunities?
Well, the opportunities are really just like they are in any other investment space. You're looking to be in early and hopefully ride the wave of value increase. And it's just like anything else. You buy a corner piece of property, and then you look to market it to a pharmacy company, Walgreens or something like that. It's the same type of scenario, and then as things kind of build around you, then you kind of figure out what you have. With the digital stuff, those areas are kind of already predetermined, if you will. So like you were talking about the fashion district or whatever earlier, and it's still kind of a vague process. I think even for the people that are involved in it, I think there's still some vagueness as to exactly how this is going to go and how these things are going to transpire. The bottom line is, though, is there's only so much of it. No matter how you look at it, no matter what you do, there's only so much of it in these different worlds, such as Sandbox, Decentraland, and of course, I'm under the impression that Facebook, their whole metaverse, now that they're Meta, that's coming down the road for you to be able to shop and buy parcels of digital property there.
Right.
And again, I think there's still a certain amount of vagueness of exactly how this is going to go and what it's going to officially look like in the end.
Right. You know, I mean, I've been involved in real estate for almost 15 years now, almost 11, 12 years as a trainer and an educator, helping other people do the same. And for the foreseeable future, I don't see real estate ever depreciating, really ever again, at least not while we're walking the earth. It probably goes through some ups and downs along the way, but long term. And it's really just based off of the concept of the economic concept of supply and demand.
Yep.
Right? We got more people right now than we got houses, and they're already walking the earth, and they're growing to an age where they need their own house, and we're just not building those houses fast enough. So I think this is the most solid investment, solid business you could take on for a very long time to come. But when we make this transition into virtual real estate, is that supply and demand there, or is this a little bit more, or a lot more speculation, a little bit more of a gamble? Because this is real money, and we're talking millions of dollars for digital plots of land inside of a video game.
Yep. Now, and I think what you're looking at right now is yes, the video game, if you will, what you just said. The whole video game concept is something that my parents are still trapped in the world of. While I'm sitting there playing Super Mario Brothers, and they thought we were all the whole Earth was gonna burn when we got older, because we sure wouldn't know what to do about it, because all we did was play video games. And so what's happening is, and it's happening in my own household. The Oculus. Let's just take it for just an example. The Oculus, and then the amount of time that my kids play on the Oculus, and one of them the other day was talking about they were playing a game where they were an employee. Okay, so like they're checking out groceries, and they're doing this for hours on end, and I'm like, what could be so? Why don't you go do that for real and bring home a check? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like, come on, what are we doing? And so, but I think what's happening is you're not going to see an immediate shift into this digital world, but my generation is post Super Mario Brothers, and we're post invention of basically the personal computer, and look at the how the earth is, or the world has transcended from that point moving forward, and what it looks like post those things happening. And so, although I think what where there's some confusion arising is that somehow this virtual world is going to stand in for the physical world, and I don't think that's the aim or the direction that these folks are going. I think that the direction they're going is for things that can be virtual experiences will be in the virtual world, while obviously you can't own a farm in the virtual world that you can go pick a cucumber off of. Okay, so so I think that the mind shift has to take place there, and it automatically has to be separated to begin with. And as these investments, and as these people, these bigger wheel people start coming into this space, you're going to see a lot of things. Like, I can't even remember, my own father, he just about fell out of his chair the day he figured out he could play poker online several years ago. It was one of the original, everything was real pixelated and all that stuff, and he just about fell out of his chair. And then you start thinking, okay, how many people fly to just right where you're at? How many people come to Las Vegas just to roll the dice, or come to Las Vegas just simply to play blackjack? Okay. What happens when now you have a unregulated space where anybody can go on there and gamble with whatever, that now they have a venue online where you can actually physically go in, and these kinds of things start happening. And one of the I'm sorry, I may have gotten off of the original question. I think we were.
Yeah, I'm just guess what, and I kind of get it. So I'm almost there, but I'm trying to think in like the layman's terms, where this is a totally brand new concept, because it is something brand new for most of the world, right?
Yeah.
Personally, specifically the civilized world that have the ability to invest if they wanted to, and if they wanted to participate. Um, so as far as these, like I said, like we just said, guy paid $2.5 million for 116 parcel estate. So
Yep.
that's $2.5 million. So that's an investment, obviously, to that investor. So the expectation would probably be appreciation. And I
Yep.
guess that comes from adoption of the game,
Yep.
right? And then,
Well, it's not just a game. Now, I think that's where I'm talking about the long play of it is not the game. It's not a
okay,
game.
all
It's
right,
it's one of the things that I heard. Of course, you hear so many different things, but one of the things that I heard Mark Zuckerberg was emphatic about, especially when the pandemic started, was, you had people that were dying all across the world, not even just from COVID, but you still had your regular everyday people that were passing away. And all of a sudden, we were all strapped in our chairs at home and couldn't go anywhere. We were straitjacketed in our house. We couldn't even go to say goodbye to our loved ones. And when this whole idea that this digital landscape existed, or was even on somebody's radar, was when he said we could go to a funeral virtually. And what does that look like? And so when you start, I mean, it's unbelievable to me that when you start thinking of the things that we did in the physical world and how they could potentially be put in there. So I really, that's I think going to be one of the biggest things, is exactly what you just said, getting it from, and having it move from the video game to, hey, this is actually a real world concept. And it was just like, liken it to the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin standard or whatever that's happening. Go back 10 years and people were like, you're going to buy some of those, that what's it called, and then they were like, all of a sudden Bitcoin wasn't just this toy, or this whatever it was, whatever you considered it back then, and now it's like it's real world currency.
right, right. The And I get it. but I'm trying to think, because I've got a buddy who bought a hot dog stand in one of these metaverses,
Yep.
and he sells virtual hot dogs to the players, and he actually is earning an income from that. He's
I'm
getting
sure my kids are the ones that bought it, V-Bucks or whatever it
Mhm.
is.
Yeah, and then I've got another buddy who bought a digital racehorse,
Yep.
and
The
he's got the
digital racehorses
racehorse.
are big.
He's
Yes.
got him
Yes.
racing in races, obviously, and then
Yep.
he's got then he's also can send out his digital racehorse to breed, and
Yep.
he gets stud fees on his horse. So it's like it's really remarkable of what's happening.
And I think when we start talking, and you made you said the term layman's terms earlier, and it's and so for this whole digital landscape and these racehorses and these types of things needs for those to ever make any sense um, to I guess what I would say the general public, which used to be me before I actually like sat down and just started studying and reading and learning and thinking and trying to place my mind outside of this box, is the NFT craze, the non fungible token, and when you start looking at what the basis of an NFT is, and again, I know that term doesn't resonate with a lot of people, and it's way out there. I get that, but when you start looking at this thing from an NFT, and the NFT cannot be replicated any more than the physical horse that won the Kentucky Derby last year.
Mhm.
They can be replicated through taking its qualities and combining it with another quality, and then you have, but you still never have that original one.
Right.
And so that's the basis for learning about where metaverse is, and what these investments ultimately mean on the far end of things is going to stem off of learning about what an NFT is to begin with.
Right. And I get the demand, I get the enthusiasm over it, because we're already a big giant gaming community anyway. We're already kind of living this. I mean, my son is a
Mhm.
huge Roblox
Oh,
fanatic, right? So I mean, that's a metaverse in of itself. Um, so the what I also think, so I see like the demand, I see where there's potential for the profit and the appreciation and the income. What if people just decided to go, um, okay, I got real problems in the real world. Forget this game stuff, forget this metaverse stuff, and leave. Like, what are the actual risks involved of
well,
making?
I guess the risks involved are just like anything else. Now, to a certain degree, you have to consider the risks, like just like owning physical real estate. I mean, just buying a lot somewhere. What if everybody all of a sudden decided, hey, we're gonna leave Las Vegas, which happens, cyclical type stuff. But again, you're you're going to have that. You're going to tend to have that continual demand to some degree. I just got done having a discussion with a guy about this, about his primary residence here in the town I live in, and he was like, I said, real estate is 100% undefeated against selling. Real estate will always sell. It will always sell. No matter what you do, it will always sell. The thing that hinders it is the price, and the person behind that price hinders what that real estate is worth. Now, again, when you start looking and saying, okay, all of these people would have to leave at one time, and then all of a sudden, if they all left Decentraland, now you're sitting there and you're like, hey, I got this $2 million plot of land, and it doesn't really exist, but it does exist on the blockchain, but it doesn't really exist in the physical form. I guess that really that risk is yet to be seen. It's yet to be seen because people haven't. There hasn't been an episode of that yet. Just like I'm sure, back years ago. I keep saying Las Vegas because it's one of the cities that always stirs up in my mind because I've heard of people that have like bought $500,000 homes, sold for 200, rebought back for 100, and then sell it for 500 again. And that seems to be the city where it just goes around like you're holding a snake.
Right.
I mean, it never seems to have a balance and of supply and demand. And so I think there's probably going to be a cyclical uh, portion to this that's yet to be seen, and I think that's going to be with NFTs, and I think we've seen a little bit of a crypto fall off in the last week or two. But it's like anything else. The demand, you're betting on the demand being there, but now again, we have to come back to the fact that there is these different worlds too. So there's Sandbox, there's Decentraland, there's any number of other decentralized areas where we can create digital real estate.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, I think your bigger thing is going to be somebody creating an epic world that then all of a sudden starts pulling these people away from over here. It would be like saying, hey, one country offers this, and now all of a sudden people from every country in the world start going there. The land in that area is going to decrease in value. But so that I think is going to be a bigger issue than it just necessarily falling off because people are like, hey, I'm just going to go start doing this. But again, it's still yet to be seen. I mean, and the forecasts for it, everything is strong NFT wise right now. I think because people are still figuring it out, they're still looking at it, they're still trying to weigh it. My dad still thinks that he can take a screenshot and he's got just as good of a photo as I do, one I paid $2,500 for. And so you've still got that level of figuring it out to happen.
And I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of unexplored territory that we have right here, but it's certainly, I look at something like that example of Mark Zuckerberg changing the name of his company to Meta. Like there's a lot more has got to be happening under the scenes. He didn't just have this wild dream and decide to do it. And I was going to start this project today. I'm imagining that project is much further along right now than most people realize. It's here, right? And then I look at Jack that left Twitter, right? And he goes over to back to his primary operation being Square. And then within a week, he changes the name to Block for blockchain. So now you've got two of these amazing entrepreneurs are now competing and racing for adoption, right?
Yep.
So just because of that, I have no doubts of the future of this, but I'm still thinking of the potential risks. But
and I think there's going to be a lot of risk investment wise.
Say that again.
I think there's going to be a lot of risk investment wise. I mean, I don't think that's going to. I think this is essentially the I mean, the people that finally started coming back in the stock market after the Great Depression, I mean, they didn't have no idea what Coca-Cola was going to do, and they had no idea. So, I mean, I think it's the same scenario. But until and the other, I was thinking about this, and we haven't even begun to see my wild brain idea is that probably less than 5% of the entire population even remotely begins to have a grasp on what an NFT is. And it's already exploding. I mean, CryptoPunks, 500,000, 500, 600,000. I mean, that kind of stuff. And again, we're still talking about such a minute percentage of the population that really understands that where does it go from here when all of a sudden now 80% of the population understands it. And there's only so many, 9,600 parcels of land is not that many.
And that 9,600, that comes from where? That's the number of parcels in.
That's Decentraland. I think, is it 9,600 or 96,000?
Okay.
Off the top of my head, it's one or the other. Right?
There's a limit though, right? So,
yeah, there is a limit, and they're not going. And a lot of people. Again, my dad will take a screenshot. I've got one. Look, and I didn't pay anything for it. I'm like, really? Come on now. And so it's the same thing. That once these projects are complete and the chain is ran, that's it. I mean, that's it. And now they can always, you can always add the horses and you can have more now, but those horses, that first breed of horses, I mean, those are the perfect ones, and everything's going to be that's going to be the high watermark that everybody's going to play off of after that. So it's all in a matter of, and again, like you said, these massive entrepreneurs, and their vision for, like, they're thinking of things that you and I,
Yeah, we have
I'm
no
about what my kids are going to eat for dinner, and they're thinking about feeding somebody in the digitally.
for sure, for
So,
sure. You
um,
know, when again we're talking about the risks, one of the things that mitigates a little bit of the risk from real world real estate is the ability to use other people's money to leverage, right? And I'm looking at these numbers here in the millions to buy a parcel of real estate or buy some digital land. Um, are there any options for financing yet, or are these just going to be all cash deals for right now?
right now, they're pretty much all cash. Of course, aside of anything that you do on the outside, um, before you ever get there. But you've got to exchange it into Ethereum, and then you go, like, if you want to buy in Decentraland, is it MONO, their token? Uh, and, and so and so once you have those tokens, there's going to pop up where people are going to start leveraging that stuff. Um, and he's got a digital car. He said but there's going to be stuff that pops up, and and that's where it's going to go. And so it's really hard. I'm sorry, I just saw those questions pop up, and I'm trying to read those, and like you just said earlier, producer and answer and everything at the same time. um, so
Yeah, we'll get to them. Well, let's look at that. So it's a good question right here by Matt Smith. Why would you want digital land? And I was just at a blockchain convention here at in Las Vegas. It was just last week, and I spent 3 days there to learn more about this. I really wanted to understand because when I was in the music business and I was the digital download came along. I was like, it was a question I had. Why would anybody want to download a digital song?
yep,
Right? Like people want to go into the music stores and they want to go in and they want to look at the record albums and they want to read the liner notes. And they want to look at the picture and they want to touch it. And just the smell of vinyl was that was like a heaven for me. And I know there's a lot of, audio files out there that felt the same. And I didn't think the digital download would ever take hold. And I was sharing this with the guy that actually the rodeo was in town in Vegas. And I was in a bar having a beer and we were watching the rodeo. They had a live stream of it going on. And I was talking to the guy and he said, "Where are you from? What do you do?" And he asked me about this. And like you think about the rodeo crowd, there's probably no crowd further away from digital land than a rodeo crowd. And I was explaining it to him just like how I explained it to you. And the bartender is a girl. She overheard. She goes, "I'm cool. I'm staying here in the real world. I'm not going to play with that. That sounds like nonsense to me." And it clicked. And I told the cowboy that I was sitting next to, I said, that was me in the music business. I'm not going to be that person this time because I'm out of the music business because I ignored it. And I'm not going to, and this might take hold, it might not, but I'm certainly going to know about it before I make a decision one way or the other.
Well, and think about it from a marketing standpoint. Think about it from the marketing stand. This is what Matt just asked the question with the digital land. I don't understand the value you get. Well, the value you get is anything you can do in this world as a marketer to gather people and gather eyes, no matter whether it's digital or not, is worth something to somebody. I mean, how much money do they pay for billboards? I mean, billboards here where I'm at in Kentucky, $1,000, $1,500 a month. But how many impressions are you getting? And that's the same thing here. It's how our kids are in there playing in this game and they're doing this and racing horses or whatever they're doing. Well, they're selling them Play-Doh and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? So it's the
Well, I
same
mean, for
scenario.
example, Coke and Pepsi just bought up blocks inside of these games, right? Because they want the Coke being shown while you're playing the video game. They want the Pepsi being shown while you're playing the video
Sell a digital billboard. Buy your corner, put a digital billboard up. Every kid that comes in the game sees that billboard when they go by. How many Legos do you think they're going to sell from that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's astonishing to me where and once the population can get over the fact that this stuff can't be reproduced, and you can't just all of a sudden the Metaverse or Decentraland sells everything they've got, so then they just make more. It's not like that. It's going to be very much the same system. And I think Metaverse Metaverse, Decentraland and Sandbox, those are going to be your Pepsi and your Coke.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Those are going to be your market leaders that once they start getting a hold and start having substantial income, they're going to start snatching up the smaller guys that come along with the newer ideas. Okay.
Yep.
They're going to start snatching up the Mountain Dews and the Mellow Yellows, and that's where it's going to go.
Yep.
But they have to pay crazy money for that stuff because of the impressions. Again, if they can say, hey, we'll pay $3 million for that corner, but there's 500,000 kids a day that go past that corner, man, that's worth X amount to us because it costs us this much to acquire a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Same deal, just digital.
And I don't have the perfect answer for this of why people would want digital land and why people would be interested in this. What I can tell you, based on my studies over the last few months, and specifically this weekend, I really did a deep dive and talked to a lot of very smart, wealthy people that are throwing everything they have at this. The reason you'd want it is because that's where the people are going.
Yep.
Right. That's
just
where
like a stadium. Going. Just like a stadium. Yep. I mean, own a digital stadium and have a digital rock concert, and you have people file in there, and it's all about advertising. Look at this. I mean, think about. Do you remember when Facebook first went public? I don't even remember what year that was. Was it 13? 13.
Yes,
I think first went public, and I remember my mother, of all people, and she's just as bad as my dad with the screenshot and whatever. She said, well, they give Facebook away. How are they ever going to make any money off of it? And I stopped and I said, are you serious? They've gathered virtually the attention of the entire world on a minute by minute basis, and you're wondering how they're going to make money? And you drive down the road and see billboards, and I was astonished that just didn't click immediately. Like, hey, here we are now. Let's start inserting ads in there and making people pay.
Right. So he's asking, is this land in a virtual town? Essentially, so you're going to start hearing about this more and more, the metaverse. And this is like a new digital universe where people are spending their time playing. So if you have kids, you know what Roblox is. That is a metaverse. And my son is in there all day long and keeps asking me for $10 to buy some more tools and some more materials.
Robo.
Right. And then the other thing, if you go back a little bit further before we really got into all this, if you remember that game called The Sims, where you build these little towns and everything like that, that is a metaverse. And they're actually regenerated, and they formed up with this company, Gala Games, which has been a huge token in cryptocurrency in the last couple months. But this is where people are spending their time. And if you've got kids, it's got their undivided attention. They'll sit there and look at it all day long. There's adults, I used to live across the street from Staples Center. This was about, 10 years ago. And this was 10 years ago, and I couldn't understand this concept. But they had the EA Sports World Championship at the Staples Center. And they sold out the Staples Center to watch people play video games.
Yep, they played it on a big.
Yeah, and that was 10 years ago. So it's, what do they call this? It's an irrational passion. Mm-hmm. And when you form a business, you want to solve or address one of two things. You want to address an urgent need or an irrational passion. Yep. And I really see this being, people are so passionate about this.
To me, the person that's got one of the biggest potential profits in this whole thing at the end of the day is the guy who may be a kid right now, but the person that merges the virtual world with the physical world. Now, I say that in not like wanting to be a Back to the Future kind of guy or whatever, but I say that in under the respect that, COVID has already taught us that we don't care if we have to wait a couple of days for our order. As long as we know that money's out of our bank account and that thing's on its way, we don't care. Mm-hmm. So when you start digitally grocery shopping, and then all of a sudden that order appears on your front step, or Jeff Bezos sends a drone and drops it off at your front door, man, I mean, everybody called him crazy 15 years ago. You'll never be able to deliver packages by drone. Well, I mean, it's not here 100%, but it's definitely a
part of markets where it's working for sure.
That's so. I mean, so what I'm getting at is it's all relevant, and the person that can merge those two worlds, and you digitally grocery shop, and you digitally whatever, you feed your digital dog and whatever else you do,
Well, to that point, at this event I was at last weekend, the exotic car companies are already starting to do this. You go out and buy a Ferrari, you're going to get the physical Ferrari, but you're also going to get the digital NFT that you can take with you inside of your video game and drive it around in your video game as well. And they proposed this idea that was like kind of blew my mind. Imagine a world where that digital car is going to be worth more than the physical car.
Yep.
They said it's coming. And someone was like, well, how could you possibly say that?
Status.
It's the status. And the status comes from, you drive a car around right now, only the people in your neighborhood are going to see you in that car.
Yep.
But if you're driving that car around in the metaverse where everyone's living, everybody's going to see that car, and it's going to provide much more status and marketing dollars and influencing and all that stuff. And it was just remarkable. I'm gonna have to wrap this up in a minute, but Casey, what are you doing at 3000 Capital to make sure that you're making smart real estate investments, and how you're doing this to maximize the returns for your investors as well?
Well, the first thing that we're doing is we bring a really almost an irrational boots on the ground approach to things. And the boots on the ground in the real world, not the virtual world, the boots on the ground is really where I always say, if you go to a piece of property that you're looking at investing in, you have to know what it feels like to be there, because ultimately your tenants are your clients. And so we take, again, almost an irrational look at the physicality of what we're investing our money in. And when we start moving our investors' money into places like that, we have to make sure that it's an investment that we can close out later on, something we don't want to get stuck with somebody else's boat anchor. Mm-hmm. So we take a very strong approach towards making sure that the physical asset backs up the dollars, and that we're in a decently appreciative market as far as like regular times go. We don't want to go off and invest in a multifamily complex in the digital world just yet. We want to stay in places like Cincinnati and Indianapolis, and this what I call the triangle of car batteries. That's kind of the next step. So we are specifically looking for multifamily properties. We're specifically looking for investors to come in and help us kind of bite off the big chunks of some of these properties that are in this triangle, and we want to provide reasonable returns and let people experience the ownership of real estate, quite possibly when they don't have enough capital to own the whole thing.
Sure.
And
we talking about real estate now, or are we talking about virtual real estate?
Real estate.
Okay.
Real estate. 3000 Capital. We are on the physical side, but again, the digital part of it is seeing where this is all going. So yes, the real estate part of it is we're going to we want to raise capital for this specific area. So is where we're looking for multifamily and investment type stuff.
Okay, so if people wanted to learn more about what you're doing and see if they wanted to participate, they would go to, that's what, 3000capital.com?
3000capital.com. I know that URL up there looks a little funny, but just go to 3000capital.com. We're also Veravest verified, so you can find us on Veravest. We spent a lot of money and a lot of time putting this stuff together, and we're really moving on and hope to be several thousand units down by this time next year.
Perfect. Well, there's a lot more to discuss, as this is going to be constantly evolving. And if you're involved in the cryptocurrency world or in the metaverse world, things are changing by the minute. Like it's happening so fast. So let's go ahead and do this again somewhere in the near future as things evolve. And then, I guess that's it. You can go to 3000capital.com to check out what Casey and his company is doing. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate it. And I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and enjoys all that has to give.
Super. Same to you. Thanks, Casey.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty. So that wraps up this epic show. And if you found this episode valuable, who else do you know that might too? There's a really good chance that you know someone else that would. And when their name comes to mind, please share it with them. And if you liked what you heard today, go ahead and smash the like button. Let me know what you're thinking down below in the comments. John, you're welcome. Matt, thank you for being here. Appreciate all of you guys that are here. And when they come here, ask them to click the subscribe button. I'll take great care of them. Alrighty. God loves you. So do I. Merry Christmas to you. Health, peace, blessings, and success to you. I'm Matt Terrio. Living the dream. Take care.